supposed to swallow these. Hello, my name is Sarah, and today I'm going to be talking about my experience with ADHD medication. Welcome back to Shiny Object Moms. This channel is designed for those moms of us out there with ADHD to help balance our life, have a little fun, try to figure out who we are, and just share information along the journey. And today I want to talk about my personal experience with ADHD medication. So this in no way is meant to tell you that you should take medicine or that you shouldn't for your ADHD. It is just to provide you with some more information, a perspective, and of course I am not a doctor, so please consult your doctor before you take any medication for your ADHD. So just a little bit of background on me. I am 37. I'm a mom of 3 girls, and I was diagnosed with ADHD about 6 months ago at the end of 2024. I would also like to precursor with this that my ADHD was not the only issue, if you will, going on in my life that had just really thrown me for a loop. I was kind of at the end of a burnout. I was completely overwhelmed. There was a lot of things that were out of whack in my body. I talk a little bit about that in my video about fatigue and chronic fatigue, but I have had a laundry list of other symptoms, and I believe a lot of them were a result of not knowing that I had ADHD, but also a lot of them I believe were, nutrient deficiencies, hormone fluctuations after having my toddler, and things that I have since been able to get a lot better under control, and this was just one of the steps. When I decided to get medicated, when I realized that I had ADHD, I wanted to get diagnosed and start taking medication. The first thing that they put me on was actually a non-stimulant, and I tried it for about 3.5 weeks, and I didn't feel any different whatsoever. And in the back of my head, I feel like I knew that was how it was going to be already, but I wanted to follow my doctor's advice, and if that was going to work, that would have been great. But it didn't seem to work for me. I don't even remember what the name of it was. But I started maybe 4 or 5 months ago to try different medications. So it was not an easy process. And if this is something that you're considering, I want to encourage you that there will be a lot of difficult times and a lot of ups and downs and a lot of trial and error, and writing things down really helped me. But just, I want you to be encouraged that if you want to go that route, that you will find something that works for you. And everybody's different, everybody's brain is different, and everybody's ADHD is different. The second medication that I took was a stimulant. It was extended release Adderall. And Adderall does 2 things for your brain. First is it helps create more dopamine, and it also prevents that dopamine from being taken back up and washed away back into your system, or used up. I got the extended release. It's supposed to help people for about 10 to 12 hours. It probably stayed in my system for about 8 hours, and I did find a lot of relief from it. I cannot drink caffeine. It does absolutely nothing for me. I don't even drink caffeine at all, so I literally don't have any other way of waking up in the morning. I usually wake up in quite a fog for quite a long time, which has since gotten a lot better and shifts throughout the month. But drinking a cup of coffee just doesn't do anything for me. So if I took my Adderall in the morning, it would actually help me wake up much like a cup of coffee does for somebody, and it also helped me to focus. Those were the 2 things that I noticed. Since I woke up and I could focus, my mood was a lot better as well. But it didn't last very long. It would last about 8 hours, and I think I started out on maybe 15 milligrams of it. And my day of, a mother of between a toddler and teenagers, taking them to school and everything, I get up at 6 a.m. and my day ends around 7 p.m. So between those hours, I'm keeping track of a toddler and the rest of my family, and all the other things that go with being a mom. So it wasn't really working for me in the way that I would hope, but it was a huge improvement from being completely in a brain fog all day to being able to focus and not being super sleepy. But I had to wait until 8:30 or so in the morning before I could take it, because again, then it would be gone, by dinner time, which is a really hard time of day for me. I really struggled, especially during that time, of having enough energy around dinner time. I was pretty much usually spent and still had to do dinner, still had to do baths, bedtime. The evening was always just something very difficult for me. So I took about 20 milligrams for I believe about a month, and then my psychiatrist, I told her it wasn't lasting long enough, and she upped it to about 30 milligrams, but it still lasted the same amount of time. You get more medicine, but it's going to last the same amount of time in your system. And I ended up taking that for about 2 months, and I was just getting these terrible crashes in the evening, which I believe was from the medication, but also probably from some of those other areas in my life that I was still trying to figure out and still trying to treat to get my body in a healthy place. So it was time to switch to something else. I would like to take a little quick side note here and mention that sometimes when you're switching, especially stimulant medications, which here in the United States are very closely controlled, I was made to almost feel like I was doing something wrong, or like I was a drug addict at times. I would, which I did this 3 times, halfway through a prescription, I was like, I can't take this anymore. It's not working for me. My psychiatrist was like, okay, we'll try something else. But the pharmacy that was to fulfill the prescription would make me go on this wild goose chase to get rid of the existing stimulant medication that I had. And it was like 20 questions. Like one of the times it literally was questioning me like the same exact question over and over. And it kind of, when you're already in a state of kind of that rejection sensitivity, there's a B. When you're in that state of already kind of suffering from rejection and sensitive to that, it's really hard to keep going and feel like you're not a bad person, I guess. It was kind of a weird experience as far as with my my pharmacist. But the next thing that I tried was basically like Ritalin. It's dexmethylphenidate, and it was also an extended release. And dexmethylphenidate is supposed to only do one thing for you, which is it only prevents the dopamine that is in your brain from getting back into your system. So it prevents the reuptake of dopamine in your brain. And I noticed with that when I took it, I think I started on 20 milligrams as well, or maybe even 15. I might have even taken less because I'd never taken it before. So I noticed when I took the dexmethylphenidate that it would make my heart race when it was kicking in. And then after that, and almost like a pounding, sort of like a pounding in my head a little bit, and like you could almost feel like something was going on up there. It was like a little uncomfortable. And then usually after that it would kind of go away, and then I would start to feel more focused. But I found that the dexmethylphenidate was just not enough to really wake me up and make me focused. After a while, it actually started making my heart race still, even after I'd taken it for a couple weeks. And then sometimes I would just literally be irritable after my medicine kicked in. I was just like angry. And so I took the Ritalin for about a month and a half, and I was just like, this isn't working for me. A lot of the things that I was changing at that time in my lifestyle was just trying to do a lot less stuff. I started taking some new supplements. I was learning more about hormones, how hormones affect your medication and everything else, and how your ADHD medication, your stimulants, might not even work during certain parts of your cycle. So that was very worthwhile. Pretty disheartened because there really wasn't another medication that I could take to help me that I could afford. I don't have insurance, and there's a lot of generic things out there. But with the Adderall, I thought that the manufacturer change was why I was having these horrible crashes, and I couldn't control what manufacturer I would get. So that's why I ended up switching to the Ritalin. And after that, I was like, well, there's nothing else that I can really take that I can afford. And so I was pretty disheartened. I stopped taking my medication, obviously, because it was making me miserable. And I was kind of figuring out or wondering maybe if my body metabolized the medicine faster, if it would be more worthwhile to try an immediate release of a small amount of the Adderall and be able to take a few throughout the day, but still be able to take time to rest. A lot of days I was trying to rest in the middle of the day when my toddler was napping, and if I have all this, medication pumping around, I really want to be productive. I want to get things done, but then of course, one of the things that's very hard for us is to really realize how much energy is left in our tank. And I'd seen a couple of videos of other people who tried that, and my doctor kind of was like, I don't think that's gonna help you. I think you're gonna have more irritability. And I thought, well, if I'm taking small doses, then when I do crash, it wouldn't be the same magnitude. Because it felt like on the extended release that my body was just letting go of everything all at once. And I switched my medication again to Adderall immediate release. She prescribed me 15 milligram tablets, and there was enough for me to take 2 per day, so up to 30 milligrams a day. I don't want to take 15 all at once, obviously, so I would try breaking it in half. It would last me 3 to 4 hours, which is how long it's supposed to. And the crash afterward really wasn't super noticeable. I definitely would feel more tired. I could tell that I was feeling more tired, especially on days when I was already more tired and hadn't really gotten the right amount of rest. So when I switched, you can cue the 20 questions that I got from pharmacist Steve. Did you get rid of all the dexmethylphenidate? Yes, sir, I did. Is there any dexmethylphenidate left in your house? No, there's none left in my house. Where did you take it? The police station. Which police station? The one right near my house. So I went through that whole song and dance again. The immediate release Adderall, I just started about 3 weeks ago, and it really seems like the best fit for me because I can control it. I'm not the type of person who wants to wake up in the morning and just pop a pill. I don't do that. I get out of bed, I have my breakfast. It's usually a whirlwind because toddler breakfast is like you cook as fast as you can and you're doing like 7 other chores. Like within the last few weeks, there's also been a lot of less stress. I don't have to wake up at 6 a.m. and get my toddler out the door and get my teenager out the door to drive for an hour in the car to take my daughter to school. And just removing that stress and allowing me to be able to even sleep in another 45 minutes to an hour every morning is a huge difference. I knew it would be, but it was just so nice to be able to switch off of that mode and be able to get up, make breakfast. After breakfast, I'm usually around 8:30, I'll take my first dose of Adderall. And then, by the time that wears off, my toddler's either going in for a nap and I can choose to take some more, or I can choose to just kind of chill on my bed, do some research. Literally the entire rest of the day, I swear, I'm like standing and running around. No matter how much medication I may take, it helps only so much. It can only do so much if your body is not healthy, if you're, stressed out and everything like that, or you have, the wrong thought patterns. I did spend a lot of time working on, my thought patterns and learning why I thought certain ways, like, what is hypervigilance. I watched a video, I'm going to put it in the description, but it's by another ADHDer named Rachel, and she does life coaching, and she was talking about hypervigilance, and basically that means because you've been rejected and put down so many times in your life, you expect and anticipate and are just like all tensed up and expecting to be rejected again. And the reality is that's not the case, but your brain has just been wired that way for so long that unless you know this and can shift your thoughts about it, you'll continue to think that way. So thought shifts like that, removing as much stress as I could, a lot of stress that I put on myself and a lot of things that I could slow down and stop doing. Planning for times when I did have energy or when I didn't feel as energetic, trying to get more sleep. And then also a lot of vitamins and supplements. I did a lot of research on the right ones that would help me. Talking to people about it is helpful. It's hard. It was really hard for me to talk about. I don't know why. Maybe it's because of that hypervigilance, but I talked to my husband about it, and he's a very wise man. If he's watching this video right now, he's like, yes, I am. But he's a very wise man. He's very patient. Writing everything down that I was learning, and eventually I started making an ADHD toolkit, which I would like to talk about in the next video because it was really beneficial. It's not like a box of tools like I imagine when somebody says toolkit. It was some of these things that I mentioned that helped me on this journey and are still helping me, and still, because I forget everything, gotta write it all down. So I put it all in a little notebook, and I have a few other things that I use as my tools. Essentially, it's nice to, if you have everything that you're writing down throughout this process and onward, being able to see like where you came from and how you have improved. I think in the next video, I'll talk more about my toolkit, because that's been such an invaluable resource, and I just believe that information is power. Hopefully this was beneficial for you, and I will see you in the next video. Ta-ta! Oh, I should drink some water. I'm sweating so much. I'll look at this video and be like, she's sweating a lot. That knowledge is power.